What time is it?
Okay. So what were you asking?
What time is it where you are right now?
It's 7 p.m.
God.
Yeah. But it's fine. I mean, I can't complain. It's fine. All right. Well, we have to talk about ICE in LA and the all the repercussions and implications that it is having for families, for neighbors, and of course, your priorities in regards to what ICE needs, what you have to be doing in regards to abolishing ICE, because I've talked to, I've spoken to many candidates that tell me yeah, we have to get rid of ICE. But when you ask about, do you mean get rid of ICE by abolishing it, or do you mean like regulating it? And then they tell you, yeah, well, maybe we can, regulate it in in a way that is not it's not acting, for this Trump billionaires and to make it more democratic or whatever, but um the thing here uh is it possible to regulate ICE, or is it better to just think about abolishing it?
Yeah, I've seen what you mentioned in terms of other candidates. Um, Even Brad Sherman, who I'm challenging, when I called him out a few weeks ago, he sat next to me. I said, today, right now, say that you will want to abolish ICE, that you will start to draft legislation to do so. And he hedged. He said, abolish Trump's ICE. And I think that's something that's been floated around with different elected officials, well-known ones, people who are running for office, where they give this answer that's not clear with what they're saying. The reason I say we have to abolish ICE is because I think the agency in itself is beyond any sort of repair. And even before what's been happening the past 12 months that Trump has, you know, um, pushed forward with his ICE.
Yeah,
Even before that, ICE has never had a strong reputation of actually doing the right things to help immigration enforcement. So there is a record. If we pull up all the statistics and data from when they were started, ICE was essentially, it was, well, not essentially, it was born out of the Department of Homeland Security and the Patriot Act in 2002. I think that's when the bill was passed. People like Brad Sherman support it, corporate Democrats support it. People like Bernie Sanders, Barbara Lee, two people I admire greatly, they did not support it. They voted against the Patriot Act because they realized that these things could happen. They already knew that would happen. And now it's just been magnified on such an immense level, on a world level. You're in
yeah,
Spain, and people around the world don't want to come to America to even visit because they're afraid they'll be taken by ICE. If
yeah,
that is even our allies, whatever allies we have left. So
yeah,
so in terms of fixing it, no, I think the budget for ICE is better served allocating into areas that we actually need support. And it might not necessarily be immigration, but the Department of Education, our Department of Transportation, our healthcare system. Yes, immigration. I don't like the term enforcement, but yes, we do have to have some sort of structured
yeah,
policy that helps people. But when you have future Americans from all over the country, America is based on immigrants. I'm the son
yeah,
of an immigrant. My wife is an immigrant. Most of my friends are immigrants. I
yeah,
have friends from Spain. I have friends from all over. And so I don't think it can be fixed. It does need to be abolished. And before ICE was around, we did have immigration. Um, we had INS, we had other areas. And I think now it's just become such a militarized agency where they're checking people at the airport. They almost didn't let my cousin come back from New York City. He's American. They were giving him a hard time. I mean, this is insane. And so it does need to be abolished. We need to defund ICE, and that's how we start this by defunding it, taking away their funding. And they add some of these funding bills within these larger bills, and
Yeah.
sometimes people don't realize what's going on, but it comes back to accountability and oversight. And there is no accountability, there is no oversight with ICE. And
Yeah. Yeah, I know this is a bit of an anecdote, but I know a case of a friend, well, not a friend, but a friend of my sister, who was traveling to the US.
yeah.
And when she was at the airport and she was talking, I mean, she was talking on the phone with someone in Spanish because, she's from Spain.
Yeah.
And yeah, like uh they retained her like for 5 hours without
No
being
way.
able to, yeah, without being able to communicate or call her parents or whatever. And she was, I don't know if she was like
Um,
20 or she's 20 or 21 years old. It's
That's
it's very, even because she was there just on a vacation, but you go there for a vacation and you get stopped like you were some sort of criminal when you're not. That gets you to be afraid of what to say or what to do in that country,
mm,
and it's very it's terrible to, the way that people are being treated. It happens in other countries as well, of course, not only in the
mhm,
US, but it's completely gone of the of what should be the normal way of treating, any tourist, whatever. But one of the things I want to ask is, about is the impact and, how ICE has been deployed in LA particularly.
yeah, Los Angeles is actually a pretty big area, and there's different
Yeah,
communities in Los Angeles. LA County is even larger than LA City. So I'm in the San Fernando Valley, the West Valley, Reseda, Tarzana, Woodland Hills, Northridge. I'm in th this area. And I started to, we're in April. So I think the first case of ICE kidnapping people, jumping out of their vehicles with firearms and masks. I think that was last July. I feel like it was July 5th. July 4th is Independence Day, and I think
yeah,
on July 5th in Woodland Hills, the Home Depot, those are stores that have um, construction, wood, paint,
yeah,
etc. Which, by the way, those people who run Home Depot, they're heavy Trump donors as well. And so on, I think it was July 5th in Woodland Hills, there's also Van Nuys, other parts that is predominantly Hispanic, Latino communities. And the Van Nuys Home Depot, there's another one in that same area where ICE heavily prevalent, driving through the parking lots, taking people, snatching people, and anyway, so in Woodland Hills, that Home Depot, the community isn't the same as the Van Nuys area. There
yeah,
still is Latino community, Hispanic community, and Jornaleros. day laborers who are outside of Home Depot stores across.
Yeah, yeah, I know the meaning. It's a word that we
Yeah.
use in the south of Spain. They use it a lot. Yeah,
Yeah. And so they started doing that and scaring people, intimidating people. And I would go to the Woodland Hills location and I still do. Um, but you start to build a team. And so working with DSA, Democrat Socialists of America, San
yeah,
Fernando Valley branch, doing really good work organizing putting teams together, especially like the Van Nuys area. And then there's other nonprofits, other organizations that also started to come together and basically protecting jornaleros, giving them certain paperwork to sign to fill out should they be taken by ICE that gives them um, permission and rights to other people that they can reach out to.
yeah,
I forget what the form is called, but it has slowed down. They have kind of regrouped ICE here in Southern California. I say Southern California because initially they were not in LA City, and then they would drive out to LA City and then scatter through different parts of our communities.
yeah,
And they, I think because there was resistance and there were people that were videoing everything, organizing, that became too much for them. And of course, what happened in Minnesota. Sorry, my dog is barking. Um, but yeah, I've done that for a while, and you would see different vehicles that would show up. And some of the vehicles that would show up were license plates from Mexico. And those were ICE, though. And for whatever reason, they were using license plates from a different country. They would switch out license plates, use fake license
yeah,
plates. And when people like Brad Sherman or other elected officials who claim seniority and have all this power, then with something that is actually happening in their community, they just kind of go, I don't know what to do. There's a lot to do. You can organize, you can mobilize your communities, you can KYR, know your rights. And so we've done that where we're
yeah,
doing know your rights walks. We're giving out literature in Espanol and English in different communities and putting up a sign on their window of their place of business. You cannot enter here. And even though ICE and Donald Trump, even though they're breaking the laws, they're doing unconstitutional things to human beings, by doing a little bit of this, you start to build community, you start to build resistance, and you show that we're not afraid. And
yeah,
also making fun of them. That's really, really important. Making fun of these people. We have social
yeah,
media because when you show that you're not intimidated with fascism, you will not be scared of these authoritarians because you have the people. It does make a difference. And people like Brad Sherman, other elected representatives, they don't have any incentive to fight because they're part of the system. They take the same contributions that fund ICE infrastructure. They should return the money that they get that supports the private
yeah,
prisons
problem.
where people are being sent. And otherwise, it's all performative. It's all an act. And that's not what we're here for. We're here to actually go, no, we do need change. And it does start with abolishing ICE. We cannot keep ICE. We have to invest in our schools. We have to invest in healthcare. We have to invest in the future, public infrastructure, et cetera, et cetera. And ICE it's like 75%
Yeah,
of people who are taken by ICE are not criminals. They're not, like this, it's just
yeah.
insane that,
The last poll I saw was the 86%
oh wow.
were not violent crime committers. I mean, they were
Yeah.
not criminals who had committed any violent crime. Maybe, um, how are they called this little petty crime, like not
Or they haven't done they've been here and for whatever reason they haven't completed all their paperwork. Maybe they didn't know that they had paperwork that was outstanding. And so
yeah,
when the other side, I'll see these comments from different people, they go, well, they shouldn't be here. If somebody's wife has cancer and is dying and they take the husband while he's going to work because, yeah, maybe because his paperwork isn't complete. that's where you can go, you know what? That's actually not right. So the people go, well, it's, they shouldn't be here. That's things are not black and white. They're not black and white. And
Yeah,
that's why you have these companies that are, at the end of the day, they're profiting. The more people they have in a private prison, the more people they send, they're making money off of doing that. That's literally what is happening. And they like
yeah,
being
it's all
cruel.
about profit. Yeah,
That's it. Like so we have to hold these people accountable. So if you have these private, I think one is called Core Civic, one's Geo Group. I think those are two of the big ones that have the private prisons working with ICE. Like we need to audit them. We need to go in there and hold those companies and those corporations accountable for what they're doing. Because when you see all these
yeah,
stories of children, people dying in these places, um, they're violating, I bet, a lot of city laws, state laws, federal laws, and they don't get a free pass. And it is important that they don't profit from this.
yeah. Yeah, well, one of the things that I wanted to discuss right now is the um how the response of the people has been to, to this attacks from ICE and the federal government.
The truth is, most people, especially of course Democrats, of all different backgrounds, they don't support ICE. They
Yeah,
really don't. Even last year, when I did a meet and greet with a large group of people in a nice part of our area, neighborhoods, and I didn't know what to expect, what they were going to ask me, but their main concern was ICE last summer. And these are people who probably wouldn't really be affected by ICE. Most the people there, they were Caucasian. They were educated. They were well informed, and
yeah,
they were really upset about ICE. And some of the people were Jewish as well, and they were concerned about ICE being Gestapo. And so, and then you had some people, some Asian voters that were there, and the same. ICE was a big concern, and obviously Trump and what he was doing, and nobody like Brad Sherman was standing up to him. So certain, I think Republicans, I think a good amount though are not, they're not happy
yeah,
at what's happening. They're not happy about this war in Iran. They're not happy about ICE. But some of those people, they would not want to abolish ICE. And there's probably some more moderate Democrats that would not want to abolish ICE. But overwhelmingly in this district, they do want to abolish ICE. Brad Sherman
yeah,
had to do a survey. They did a poll. And so people in the district, including some of our supporters, got the poll, the text, asking questions. And it was pretty obvious it was from Brad. And they
yeah,
asked certain issues. And what I took from that was Brad Sherman doesn't know what's happening here. If he has to do a poll about what people think about ICE or what they think about me, um, and what people are going through,
yeah. Maybe
how
he's
yeah,
afraid. Maybe he's afraid.
he probably is afraid, and because this district, yeah, they do not want ICE. And it's
Yeah,
interesting though, Lorena, because some communities, last weekend we were talking to somebody in Reseda. I don't know where they're from. They're Latino, and they started to speak about against ICE, but then I think they didn't know who I was or who I was with. And then they said that, I think they said in Spanish that, they couldn't talk anymore. They didn't want to talk anymore. And
yeah,
so people who are afraid of talking about it, especially in our communities that has Guatemala, Honduran, El Salvador, Mexico. So yeah, people are vigilant. They don't want ICE here. I talk to people every day. And what was interesting a few months ago, I ended up speaking to some police officers because they're
yeah,
not they're not doing anything. They're not doing anything about ICE. And their excuse is we can't get involved in the federal investigation. So I asked him, I said, well, what happens if somebody, a senior citizen, is being beaten up in front of you? And they go, we can't impede a federal investigation.
Yeah,
I said, well, what if they're attacking a pregnant woman? Like, where's the line where you go, hey, you know what? I have to speak up. I have to do something. And the guy just said, well, if it's egregious. And, that's disappointing. It's really disappointing because the police do have different reputations within different communities. But at the end of the day, ICE is destroying communities. And if the police department, the municipal police department, the city police is not actually standing up for the community, like what are you
yeah,
doing? You have a $4 billion or $5 billion budget and you're letting these people come in there. I know this is kind of I'm segueing here, but when the chief of police, Jim McDonald, I think that's his name, he said, we're not going to enforce the state law about people ICE wearing masks. That it's just a misdemeanor. That if they're wearing a mask, we're not going to do anything. He shouldn't be in that position. He should step aside and step down. If that's his attitude, and I've had a couple conversations with him a couple years ago about this.
yeah,
If that's his attitude, he shouldn't be there because you are representing not only our city, our state, and you have to follow the state law. And if the police chief doesn't want to do that, he needs
yeah.
to step aside.
But we could also, we could also talk about police brutality and,
Mhm.
what happened with the George Floyd protests and
Yeah,
things like that.
yeah.
That I don't know in your community if you had if you had like this very strong mobilization with this
Mhm.
assassination that happened. I don't know when it was, like in 2020,
2020, the George Floyd, yeah, that was 2020
2020.
summer.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how it was back then, but I mean, I guess that the whole history of civil rights and police
Mhm.
brutality, those things, we could go back to the 1960s, but we don't have
Yeah.
time for that. But I
Uh,
mean, but if we go back to maybe 2020, we can, we can
yeah,
understand what the role of the police has been through this 5, 6 years.
yeah, and yeah, the summer of 2020 with COVID, and then the George Floyd.
Yeah.
Um, crazy times. And I had just my second child was just born, and she recovered from RSV months before, and so um, that was just yeah, terrible. All those things happening at once. And of course, Trump was there as well, and so the amount of
Oh yeah.
chaos and communities just under attack, and yeah, seeing those police officers in Minnesota. I mean,
Yeah, of course,
it's
Minnesota.
just terrible, and
Yeah.
just and so we still see that there's a young man named Keith Porter Jr. here in Northridge in our 32nd district who was killed by an off-duty ICE agent, and it it hasn't gotten as much news as other tragic killings by ICE, and we still don't have answers about that. We don't. There's a lot of things that are missing from that. And Keith Boyd Jr. is African American, and he's a black
Yeah.
man, and we need answers. We need accountability, because if ICE is able to walk away free from murdering civilians, that's not immigration enforcement. That's somebody that has a gun that can do whatever they want with it. The police
Yeah.
department, they like if that was a police officer, they still have more rules, even though there's accountability that we still have to check in on. So th that goes back to ICE. ICE should be abolished. It should be defunded completely. All funding should be removed from ICE, and they think they're above the law. We see them walking
Yeah.
around in airports. They're doing the jobs that TSA is doing, but TSA, I think they finally got funded just the other day. But again, who's profiting from this? They want to privatize these things, and that's what they're trying to do with Department of Education. That's what they're trying to do, um, probably with the post office and TSA, and it's so disorganized. It is, and you have someone
Yeah,
like
it's
Donald Trump.
chaotic. It's chaotic. I
It's
mean,
completely chaotic.
yeah.
Just earlier, I saw Donald Trump will ask Congress for $1.7 trillion for Pete Hegseth and I think their Department of
Yeah.
Defense for 2027. 1 point, what, 1.6, $1.7 trillion? It's insane. It's insane. We could the amount of money like we could use to invest in America. Yeah, all these people they need to be impeached and they need to go. Go
Yeah.
retire. Just go, and then go to
Some of
jail.
them are already going, like Pam Bondi
Yeah.
and some others.
Mm.
So we have to go back to the idea that this comes from, the donors and corporate money, and of course, Citizens United and all, all these uh,
Yeah.
big PACs, funding, the candidates, the corporate candidates, and why is this a problem? And in regards to ICE, but in regards to so many other issues like foreign policy, of course.
Yeah, that's the problem. I'm a grassroots candidate. Our campaign is grassroots. And so it's hard to do fundraising. It's hard because if you're a grassroots candidate, you have a regular job, you can take care of your family, take the dog to
Yeah,
the vet. You got all these things you have to do. And so fundraising is a hard part of it. And so I think, excuse me, if we look at public financing for campaigns, and I think other governments, they do things like this. They make it equitable, they make it accessible, they make it easy for candidates. I'm in these different groups with candidates across the country, and I hear what this candidate's going through, this candidate, just to get on the ballot. That is in itself can be very challenging. And we need to make these things easy, especially for third party candidates. And
yeah.
it's really important that anybody who wants to run for office should be able to. It shouldn't be because you're related to somebody, your family, generation of generation, you're already in the system. We don't have kings here. We don't do that. It's about working people. It's about, a citizen who wants
I
to do
wish it
good,
was the same here.
right? Oh, right. Right.
Yeah, I
I
don't want
lost
to
I
talk
lost your
about it.
king's vote. I lost your king's vote. He has a nice beard though, right? Doesn't he have a nice beard, the your guy?
Yeah,
Um,
well, I'd rather not talk about that. I'm a
I thought,
Republican, and maybe this is,
yeah,
if I say this in the US, they might think I'm pro-Trump, but I'm a Republican because I don't want the monarchy here in Spain.
yeah. But it's different. Like it means, yeah, different things.
Yeah.
No, yeah, you do, yeah, you have a king. You actually have a king. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, we have to make it accessible. And I think, and then another thing is ranked choice voting. I think ranked choice voting gives people options. And just like what they did in New York City with the mayor campaign, ranked choice voting. So we need to implement ranked choice voting. We need to have this as a national holiday for voting. And yeah, like the city, if you run for city office, they match funds here, just like they did in New York, they do in LA. But for federal, they don't do that. They should do
Yeah.
things like that because it makes it more accessible for people and gives a real voice to people. So you have the ability to hear somebody. So traditionally, you have TV, traditional media, which that costs to put on. We don't have money to pay for millions of dollars of ads, but we can use social media. We can use every social media platform. We can do it organically. We can eventually boost it, and then people are going to get it into the district and they'll have a voice. That's why social media done right is actually can be pretty democratic. Obviously, TikTok has changed since the Ellisons took over. I'll lose hundreds of followers just out of the blue, and then I'll gain
I
followers.
don't have TikTok, so
Yeah, I mean,
I
you don't
don't.
need to get on TikTok.
I'm
It's
not
not cool
into that.
anymore. It's not. It was really great. We connected with millions and millions of people, and then it's like they did
Yeah,
something to the platform with whatever you're saying, where it's like limited and you lose followers. Um, we still have almost 36,000 followers, but my point being, having these platforms, it makes it equitable for a grassroots campaign, a grassroots movement to mobilize their voters, mobilize people to support. And we need to overturn Citizens United. We have to do that.
yeah,
Like it's crazy. Like the super PACs, the amount of money that Elon Musk they can do with a super PAC, there's no accountability, there's no oversight. It's dark money, it's dirty money, and you can't compete with that. So you have to find other ways as a grassroots campaign. People across the country are doing that in America, other ways to challenge a super PAC. And yeah, you're up against something that's almost impossible to beat. So yeah, money in politics is yeah, it's a big problem.
yeah. Well, we do have some five, only 4 minutes
Mhm.
left, so I don't know if you could make, like a conclusion to all these things where we've been talking about. I know that, that we are missing a lot of things, but it's, um times, you know, it's very difficult to do a long podcast like this.
Yeah.
We have to, we have to end it in a positive way. I don't know if there's a positive if there's, some positive ideas that you can tell us about.
Yeah, I even though there's all this chaos, there's all this negativity, there is positive momentum. There is a positive way of looking at things and seeing what's in front of us. Connecting with a lot of different candidates across the country, across America, who are running similar campaigns, grassroots. It's really inspired. I'm really inspired by seeing all these different candidates that are like popping up all over the place. And in 2024, when I ran, that there was no movement like that. So now in 2026, the races that have already happened, whether it's in Illinois, Texas, seeing different candidates, grassroots candidates, people who are already in maybe state office, but nonetheless, it is really inspiring. And I think there is a real possibility for a positive revolution that can be won through our voice, through freedom, meaning peace, where I do believe that there is a lot of good people here across the world, but that do want to make lives better for their neighbors, make lives better for their families.
Yeah,
And I see that. I can feel it. And we talk to a lot of voters all the time. We talk to people at stores, businesses, and people do want real positive change. And I know it's cliche, positive change, but then we have to go, okay, there are people who are running in different races who may say those things, but it's also important that we do our due diligence and see who's funding them. That's also
yeah,
really important. And we don't need to elect someone just based on their age. If they're still the same, they're still the same. And so for a revolution to happen, that is peaceful, it's just education. It's educating ourselves, talking to people. And end of the day, people do want these things to happen. We just have to give them the ability to know it
yeah,
and inspire them.
yeah.
I'll stop there.
Okay, great. Well, this has been a great interview, and we've we've covered a lot of issues. So thank you very much again for your time.
You're welcome, Lorena. Always a pleasure. I think these are good conversations. I'm open to doing these every so often, with your schedule. I know you're busy as well, but these type of platforms, this is literally how we change the world. And we can reach a lot of people. And thank you again, Lorena. Um, Hasta luego. Buenas noches. And have a good Easter weekend.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you, Lorena.
Bye.
Bye bye.